Hello, my name is Host Eric, and I am the host of Talking with Famous People. Today, we're going to be discussing a little something called center holes. Center holes. If you have a donut, then the hole should be right in the middle. Oh, I'm sorry, I misread that. It said mentor rolls, not center holes. Silly Eric. Let's talk mentor roles. So, I this topic was just thrown out there. I haven't thought about it at all. I like the topic a lot because I have, I think it's fair to say, been in both capacities. The mentor and the mentee, the mint eater, as they call them. If you're, oh, thank you, Eric, INFJ. I appreciate that. Um, when my most clearly remembered mentee role learning, I have two specific places where I learned a great deal from one individual teacher. And the first time was after I graduated from college. This is the first time I learned a lot from a teacher. I think it's fair to say. I think that's totally fair to say. It was after I graduated from college. I was taking another college class as an undergraduate class on how to write poetry, and I happened to have this professor. It was just taking it for kicks, like a poetry writing class. And the teacher's name was Timothy Steele, and he turned out to be an amazing poet who wrote metered verse, only metered verse, strict poetic forms, right? Iambic pentameter, iambic tetrameter, and basically his hope in that class was that some of the students would learn how to do that by the end of the quarter. Most of the students never did. They never learned how to do it because it was fairly rigorous. It's kind of hard. But I was in love with it immediately. And I was like, oh my God, this makes poetry good. And I've been writing metered verse ever since, and I hit. This guy is one of the most amazing poets you could imagine reading. In fact, I think I'm going to take a moment and read a short poem of his so you guys can experience the glory of Timothy Steele's poetry. I'll read you my very favorite one of his poems, and it's a short poem, and I just have to pull it up here real quick. It's only like 12 lines or something. Anyway, this guy was one of my mentors. I was very lucky, just happened to stumble into a class with him at Cal State LA after I graduated from college, which I was taking for fun, as I indicated. FAE. So, my favorite of his poems is called Faye, and it's super badass. So, here we go. I don't want a video. I want the text of it. Here it is. I bring Faye flowers. When I cross the street, she meets and gives me lemons from her tree. As if competitors in a Grand Prix, the cars that speed past threaten to defeat the sharing of our gardens and our labors. Their automotive moral seems to be that hell for leather traffic makes good neighbors. 10 years a widow standing at her gate, she speaks of friends, her cat's trip to the vet, a grandchild's struggle with the alphabet. I conversationally reciprocate, with talk of work at school, not deep, not meaty. Before I leave, we study and regret her alley's newest samples of graffiti. Then back across with caution. To enjoy Faye's lemons, it's essential I survive, lemons that fellow Angelinos drive. She's 82. At 40, I'm a boy. She waves goodbye to me with her bouquet. This place was bean fields back in 35 when she moved with her husband to LA. How fucking badass is that? That's just like the most badass poem in history. So anyway, that guy was one of my mentors, for sure. And I learned a great deal from him about poetry. And he was a super nice guy too. And I I enjoyed chatting with him and stuff. So that role was very much about me learning a skill that came naturally to me, though, and that I didn't have a lot of trouble mastering, that I was naturally going to be really good at, and that he was going to note that I was particularly good at. So it was an easy thing to do. The second mentor role that I filled, mentee role that I filled is when I learned how to teach from Mr. Samuelson. He was a teacher. He had his own school here in Temple City. He taught grammar, and he taught me how to teach, because when I went in there, I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know what I was doing, and he had to sit me down and give me a little talking to, and basically I had to learn how to really put on a learner's hat and actually seriously learn, because there was something that I wasn't naturally necessarily good at. I had no sense of class control. I had no sense of being the boss at the time, you know. So that was another example where I filled a mentee role and learned the most important skill that I ever learned in my life, really. The one that I ended up making money on and stuff like that, which is how to teach. So those were both good. I guess I filled the mentor role capacity as well, but I'm not as good at it, I guess. I've had to train assistant coaches and stuff. I did best with the ones who came in knowing what they were doing already. And training's, I'm iffy at it. So, who was the one who suggested this topic? Wobble's got his mic on. You got any thoughts on
Yeah.
this?
Well, I was wondering what do you think made them good mentors?
Well, in both instances, they cared. They cared a great deal. They cared about their thing, if nothing else, right? I'm not saying they need to care about you, although I think they both cared about me to some extent or another. I don't know. I can never tell those sort of things. But the point is, they cared about what they were doing. They took it seriously, and they got me to take it seriously, because I didn't understand that, like, nobody had ever asked me to hold myself to a high enough standard before about anything, really. Because if you're an ENTP and you're in school, your half-assed paper turns out to be better than the other kid's fucking hard work. And I don't know what to say about it. That's the simple, honest to God truth of the matter. It sounds arrogant or braggy or something, but it's a problem NTs have, I think, in school. So, you know, it's a reality I faced, that I didn't have to try to do okay, at least. People just sort of saying, "Oh, you're so smart." It's there's something wrong to do that to kids. If you're gonna tell them they're smart, you better demand a lot out of them. So what happened was, when I was teaching, I started working for him, teaching a class of fifth graders, and trying to sort of do it the way he wanted me to do it, but really believing that I knew better, ultimately. And then at a certain point, I realized I knew nothing exactly. I didn't know anything. This guy had been doing it for 20 years, 30 years, or whatever. That he knew exactly what the fuck he was doing, and I knew absolutely nothing. But here I was in my arrogance, because of the way that life had brought me to this point, right? There's a serious problem when life brings you to a point where you have to wake up and realize there's stuff you don't know. There's skills that require you to do more than fake it. And that was my schooling, right? Faking it. I'm just faking it. Whatever. Who cares? But you can't do that when you're in charge of a group of kids in a private business that makes its money because it's doing its job better than the public schools. They can get education in the same thing. They will get it for free in school. Why would they pay for more of it? Well, because it's got to be so much better than what they're getting in school. And that realization was quite an eye opener. That there exists a world in which is not government run, and that the standards are so much higher. You got to be actually useful to people. You have to say, if you want, I want you to give me your money for this, then the thing you're providing actually has to be useful to them. There's no getting away with it. There's no getting away with half-assing shit. I'd always prior to that been in a government job or a government school, where nothing mattered. I just didn't believe anything was real. So I think it's because they cared about their shit, you know? That's the answer to your question. Long answer to a short question. You have other things to say about this?
Not really.
What's your experience as a mentor or a mentee? Do you have either?
Um, I have more experience as a mentee, but I have also some experience as a mentor. I guess it's important that you're invested. Indeed, I agree. But um, I don't know how to vocalize it. There is a certain dynamic within the mentor-mentee role, which I've always, which I feel like is there and is really important to motivate the student, but I can't really pinpoint it. And that's what really interests me about it.
Well, I think an effective mentor has to be able to engage you in a real way. You know, like I think it depends on what type of person you are, what type of personality you are, as to what you're going to be responsive to. You know, like I'm responsive to the sort of thing that's like direct, no nonsense, and you know, this is the stark reality of the thing, Eric. I'm receptive to that kind of conversation. So you know, when the mentor teacher had that kind of conversation with me, it felt superior to any arguments I had, because in part because of the tone, and in part because of the fact that he had all the evidence on his side. You know, it just people are so polite to each other; they never point that out. So for me, it requires a certain directness, I guess, from the mentor. Um, of course, the risk for any NTPs especially, I don't know if this is really a risk for NTJs now that I think about it, but for NTPs, is we really, really don't want somebody else positioning themselves as knowing more or being wiser. It violates our egalitarian nature when that occurs. So it means that if somebody is going to mentor us, they've got to do so with an abundance of either respect, but respect as we understand it, which is not the same thing as like an INFP would probably want respect expressed in a certain way, whereas an ENTP sees telling me directly the truth as the most respectful thing. So I don't know. That's important to NTPs. And I think ENTPs especially have this combative thing where if they feel like somebody else is positioning themselves as wiser or more knowledgeable, then we want to attack that. But the fact is, in some things in life, people are more wise and more knowledgeable. Uh, it's like you just gotta accept that you need to learn from people sometimes, Eric. And eventually I did accept that. Now I really try to learn from people whenever I encounter people who know something that I don't know about very well and want to know about. I'll usually ask them about it, how they do it and stuff. But I'm kind of filled with things to learn about. I don't really have room for more things to learn about at the moment. I already got a very full plate of things I'm trying to get better at. So we're currently talking about the mentor-mentee relationship, and we've talked some about the how my experience was as a mentee. I didn't really talk about my experience as a mentor. I remember I sort of had that role with Freeman, and it was really frustrating. It was really frustrating because he's an ENFP. He was more sloppy than me, more messy than me, more chaotic than me, and I was supposed to be the adult, you know? And that was hard because I didn't want to have to. It taught me about what it's like, though, to have to pick up after my shit, right? Like, it made me a little bit more respectful in general, I think, because I spent so much time cleaning up after him one way or another. And that was frustrating. But, I mean, my instincts about his coaching were right. Yeah, I had to use SI. Heaven for fucking bid. He turned out to be a really good coach. He now works in China. I shipped him off to China, replaced him with Kimball. Well, because I was sick of dealing with the shit. So I shipped him off to China. It's called Solutions by Eric. You know who needs to go to China? Freeman. So anyway. But I saw him this past Nationals, and he helped me. We went and smoked joint out in the parking lot together, stuff like that. In Utah. I'm sure they wouldn't have approved of that, but whatever. Fuck Utah. I mean, I like Utah, but I don't like their being all fussy about stuff. So, other thoughts about mentory relationships. I have a pseudo mentory relationship with students, with debaters. That's a much different kind of relationship with kids. One reason I like to work with kids is because it allows me more flexibility in terms of, I mean, I'm free to position myself as wise as I want to, or as smart as I want to, or as more knowledgeable as I want to, which is everybody shut up and listen to me because I'm telling you what to do, right? Which is, I get to do that with the kids because that's expected by both parties. And that's why I'm the coach and they're the debaters. I don't
But do
need
they
it.
actually
Do they
do they
what?
actually listen? Do they actually listen to you if you tell them to shut up?
Of course. Of course.
Because that tends to be a problem for NTP types, as you just mentioned.
Oh, well, I mean, here's the thing. I'm really straightforward about the whole thing. It's like, you're either, if I'm lecturing, you're taking notes, period. That's all there is to it. If you're not taking notes, you're wasting my fucking time. Get out of the room. It's like, I've got no patience for nonsense. If somebody's playing around, I tell them, go outside. Why are you in here? Go play outside. You're supposed to, I make abundantly clear to everybody, I don't want you here because you have to be here. You don't have to be here, as far as I'm concerned. If you're here because you have to be here, go play outside. Your parents can pay for you to go play outside here. Then I'll explain to them that's what they're doing. But you know, if you're not here because you want to win, if you're not here because you care, then get the fuck out. So they don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. It's a sport. It's a difference between a sport and a class. Football coaches, same thing. I mean, you don't see kids on the basketball team or the football team or whatever screwing around, right? Because they know that they and the team are in a real thing, and the teammates are counting on them, and everybody's counting on them. The kids know that I'm counting on them. That I can't succeed unless they succeed. That my success is predicated on their success. They know this. I tell them this, and so if they're fucking around, It's like, hey, you're fucking with my life too. What the hell? You know, it's not like I'm trying to make you suffer or something. It's not like I don't have any homework or anything like that. I don't give any homework. I don't give any assignments. I just,
Okay. Mm. It makes me think of how different people treat kids differently, because I've also experienced a lot of teachers and mentors who tend not to um, who would not treat kids in the same way and say, uh, "Oh, let's if you're not here to learn, then don't come in." But rather, they would rather do it differently and just have them in the class and have them learn, even though they don't really want to.
yeah, well, that's again, that's the difference between a sport and a class. I don't care if you're learning. That's not why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this to teach you things. I'm doing this to win debate tournaments. Now, it just so happens that you're going to have to learn a whole bunch of shit for that to happen. You have to learn all kinds of shit. And I'm going to do everything in my power to go as fast as I can in class. And your job is to keep up. And you don't want to? Fine. If you just sit there and don't cause any problems, you're welcome to sit there. As long as you don't cause me any problems. Because in that case, you'll experience the natural consequences, which is you'll go into the tournament and your same age peers, that pretty girl who's the same age as you, will fucking wipe the floor with you. And you'll feel very embarrassed. And then, all of a sudden, you're starting to apply yourself, right? Because it's not being motivated by a grade. I have no grades. I don't give any grades. It's not motivated by an evaluation of some sort. I don't give any evaluations. The tournaments are evaluations. It's motivated by the fact that they don't want to get embarrassed. And if they're the right kind of kid, eventually they realize, after a tournament or two, they go. Usually after one tournament, they realize, oh shit, I could win this thing. I could totally win this thing because our arguments are better. We are more well prepared. Strauss is not bullshitting me. And that's what happens with that. I'm not about being harsh. I'm not about like, I want you to understand that you are failing by not caring about this. I'm about being straight up. Like, hey, dude, I refuse to be party to your parents forcing you to do shit you don't want to do. If any of you want out, you just tell me the word, and I will get you out, and I'll make it seem in some way that's not you're asking to get out too. I'll figure out a way to spin it to your parents. Anybody wants out, let me know. If I don't like you, I will kick you out and refund your parents' money. So, I mean, in that setting, you just don't have any kind of problems. Everybody understands the drill. Everybody knows the score. The problem is people lie to each other all the time. Like, oh, you're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to say to the kids, I don't care about your learning. But I do, because I want to make it clear to them. I'm not here for what you normally come into in any setting like this. That is not what you're experiencing here. I am not caring about your learning. But am I going too fast? Oh, you don't understand? I don't fucking care. Figure it out. Talk to your classmates. I'm giving you the information. I'm throwing gold bricks at you. If you want to let them land on the ground, fine. It's like there's nothing you can say to that, right? If you're a kid, nothing you can say or do except make a real choice for the first time in your life, probably. Makes me emotional. All right, thanks for watching Talking with Famous People.